Hi guys and welcome. For anyone who doesn't know, I'm Kadi. I'm community manager at 30 Plus One. 30 Plus One is a community and network for independent music managers and artists that manage themselves. And the idea is that when you join, you get instant access to a network of your peers, and we use our numbers so that we can get access to services that you might not otherwise have got access to on your own, and hopefully at a good price, so ultimately you end up saving money too. So again, as some of you all know, this session is part of a series that we've been doing online, and they've all been really well received. I'm really excited to hear about today. And before we just get into it, I'm going to do a bit of housekeeping. If you came here to hear the session on Beyond the Music, creating and managing the artist message, then first of all, you're in the right place, which is good news. So today, the session will talk about, bringing the artist story, that whole narrative, which some of us have had discussions about before, and the brand together in a way that can really better build some momentum for your artist if you're a manager, or for yourself if you're managing yourself. So we'll start off with our speaker, who I'll introduce shortly, and then we'll have some Q&A. James is here. Do you want to say hi, James?
Hi everyone, I'm James. I'm just going to help moderate the session. If you guys have questions for Loren during the session, feel free to drop it into the Q&A window and we'll address it at the end. And then after the entire session is done, we're going to have a 10 to 15 minute networking session in the chat, because that's something that we usually do at our live events that hasn't been that easy to replicate online. So we thought we'd try it, see how it goes. So stick around afterwards and I'll still be here and I'll be chatting with you guys and answering any questions that you have. That's pretty much it.
Perfect. Thank you. Yes. Yes, that'll be good. So you can go to the after session, which will be great. Do say hi in the chat. Like James said, he'll be monitoring it. Feel free to say who you are, whether you're a music manager or an artist. Drop your social media handles up in there so you guys can all say hi to each other and connect, and maybe align on a project that you're working on as well would be cool. Okay, so I think that's more or less everything. If it's not, I'll catch up at the end. But without further ado, I would like to introduce you to our speaker today, brand messaging strategist, Loren Weisman.
Hi. Thanks for having me today. And we're going to talk about the ideas around managing of course, your artist, but also managing your messaging. The first thing I'm going to do, though, is open up with something that you want to manage, you want to consider managing when you're listening to anybody. This is a sort of buffer, if you will. We have so many people across the world that are saying, this is how you do it. This is what you need to do. This is why you need to do it. And oftentimes we're being attacked by people that have never done it before, or did it with certain budgets or certain people behind them. A lot of the story that was happening, it's not filled in. So we follow certain methods and they won't necessarily work for us. So what I want to invite you to know first about me is I was a session drummer. I was a ghost drummer. You can see this face. It's not the face of a rock star. Yeah, what are you going to do? I came in and cleaned up a lot of things for different musicians, for boy bands, rock bands, metal bands, jazz bands. It was the stuff where you came in the middle of the night. Across my career, I did about 700 albums. And it's not that it was the 700 albums that I was on or that it was behind the scenes. What I learned about the music business was 700 different budgets, 700 different types of personas, personalities, hundreds of different managers, agents, talent buyers, licensors, the tour managers, everyone. So off of that, I compiled my knowledge so I could share it from a standpoint of stating, okay, I've seen it from the best, I've seen it from the worst. I've been on the nicest tour buses, I've been shoved in the back of a VW van, and I'm 6'4". It's not a very comfortable place. So what I'm sharing and what I call with the company that I work with, Fish Stewarding Group, what I'm stewarding is a set of informational tactics and strategies that you'll want to take and consider applying in your personalized and individualized way. I'm going to run down a list here, and then afterwards I will send some of this list to you guys if you want to have it, because we're going to bullet down. We only got an hour. We're going to punch through. And this goes into the messaging of who you have to reach. We get into the mindset, and this is one of the, let's just jump right in and hit it. Let's lose the phrasing, everybody, about calling yourself unique, new, different, innovative, and never have done before. And here's the thing, even if you are, because so many people have said it before, it's a really bad idea to allow that content and that messaging to come out where walls automatically go up. We have a problem, and there's been this problem for a long time, and it's more so, it's coming to a climax right now, that our intention oftentimes is lost in the perception of our audiences. And inside of the audiences, what we're looking for, we're not realizing the array of our audiences. It's not just about, we need to get this to the fans. We need to get this to the people that aren't fans yet. Here's a list, and this is a good list to take down. Remember, you're going to hit that fan, the one that knows you, the one that loves you, the one that's been with you from the beginning. That's some of the messaging of where it has to go. At the same time, to the opposite end, where most people spend the most of the time messaging, that person that has no idea who you are. And then there's one right in the middle. They've heard of you in passing. Think about it like super Stop and Shop, what we have over here, or your supermarket marketing. There's a way to get away. Consider getting away from the, I need you to be a fan now. I need you to sign up on Twitter. I need you to go download this song. I need you to come here. So many people inside and outside of music are telling us what we need to do. If you slowly invite them, this is a little bit about a song. So as you share about a song, it hits the people that have no idea who you are. It still can resonate with the people that are the biggest fans and didn't know the facts about that song. And for those people on the edge, it might bring them over. So one of the points is messaging to your three audiences: the people that love you, the people that have no idea who you are, and the people that are right there in the middle that are sort of, so on the edge. They've heard of you in passing. Now, as you hit that, think about the other messages that have to get out there to the professionals. What are you saying to the talent buyers, to the booking agents? And especially right now, because we're all working with artists that are playing out a lot less. Are you working with publishers? Are you working with music licensing opportunities right now? Are you putting up this stuff with saying, this is just completely unfair what's happening with music, and I need support, and here's my crowdfunding? A lot of people are crowdfunding. A lot of businesses are crowdfunding. We're saying, we need help, we need help. Where can you offer up your music? And maybe it's publishing 2 songs where you give free use to somebody in a commercial. Maybe it's in one of your news stations. Maybe it's on radio. Maybe it's for a movie. To extend the net allows you to extend avenues of revenue to support yourself in this time, but also in the times as it gets better and people start coming back out. One of the biggest things we have to break out of is that the understanding that we all have inside of our intention. It is so true. It is in a state of love too. It's, what you love, your art. But the minute, and this is the biggest bullet point to put on the top of your sheet, as you email someone, as you call someone, as you text someone, have they heard this before? And even though what I'm telling them is or could be different, how do I phrase this and message this so that I won't turn somebody else off? We have so many people push this arrogance. And there's a very fine line between being assertive and kind of being an ass. And when we realize that we can show confidence with humility, when we can share about a song, when we can understand that other people, as much as you think that given artist doesn't sound like anybody else, maybe there are other people that do, that say, hey, you know what, that really sounds like so-and-so to me. When we sit in this authentic, humble base in our messaging, in what we put across, in taglines, in one-liners, in show sheets, in promo stuff for PR, going after earned media. Earned media is your biggest friend to the managers out there. That's the stuff where inside of, the press releases and everything else, where can they do a story on you? Right now, there's a cat here in the US. He published 2 songs right as the shutdown was happening. One song he licensed for free. He said, look, I want this to be a song of hope to get us through this time as we're being shut down. Anybody can use this. News stations, whatever. It's a minute long. Then he had another song. It was, it was a better song. And he said, this is also available, but it's available for licensing. It's been picked up across the country. This guy in publishing royalties alone, once this thing is over, he'll be in 7-8 figures for how much this has gone out there. But he had a message. What are you, and this is where you're bringing some of your messaging together. What are you doing in this time? What kind of songs have you written? What kind of albums have you created? I mean, asking this of your bands and to the artists, think about this. What have you honed in your abilities? What have you been through? And in telling the story of who you are, in the authenticity of what you are, in the authority of your playing ability, your songwriting, your performing. I mean, I talked to one manager, they're out in LA, and he's got this artist that has a truckload of dogs, and he's doing a dog walking service. And now he doesn't just come on going, I'm doing Facebook Live, I'm doing Instagram Live. He's performing for the dogs. And it's turning into something funny, and it's different, and it's something that earned media can pick up. Media is not going to pick you up because you got a new single that's dropping. Media isn't going to pick you up because you're playing this stage or you want a crowdfunding campaign. Media is going to pick you up because of the vicarious, and I stress vicarious, stories about you that can be shared with others. In turn, management or artist doesn't necessarily have to pay for this to get this kind of spotlighting. Circling back around to the core of the messaging, if you don't already have the tagline for the band or the artist, the one-liner, the short bio that then compounds and adds to the medium bio, that compounds and adds to the long bio, please put that together. And what a great time to set up your messaging when people aren't out there. Too many artists, too many managers, too many labels. They put this out, they say this to one person, they say this to another person, they say that to another person. You can alter the message and individualize the message, but the foundation of your message has to be true, it has to be clear, and it has to be uniform. I used to come up when I was drumming and when I was touring and doing sub work. I had a great touring agent, and he goes, look, when somebody comes up to you and they ask you to describe yourself, find a way to describe yourself to this amazing fan the way you would to one of your heroes. And when you hone the message between those two to be the same, you really are onto something, and it showcases a respect. So in honing the message from the bio, it's not having 6 different bios. You lead with, what's your tagline? It's always this. It's always this one-liner. It's always this short bio that leads into a medium, that leads into a long. But then in interviews, in content, in process, you're able to add the embellishments and the content stories, but they all come back to that. And people, and again, people say, oh, well, a lot of bands don't do that. A lot of very large bands do that. It's just in what they were set up and how they were set up, it didn't have to be seen. That's how the investors came through. They saw the continuity and they put enough money behind it so that the messaging could kind of stretch out of it. You have to think about, and this is one of the only times I'm going to say you have to. The rest of this, I just want you to consider. You have to think about the differences between the stories that are out there of the people that are struggling, stressing, pushing their beliefs. And it's not a bad thing to believe in something, but if their beliefs come from intelligence that only affected them in a singular way, in a singular session, or they read one book, how does it help? With all due respect to David Byrne, and we clash heads about things, I get he had the talking heads, but his entire concept on social media is absolutely objectively wrong. He came from a time where he was very famous, where he had all this stuff before social media. Then he's carrying through and saying, this is what you're supposed to do. David Grohl is another guy, beautiful individual, fun cat, Nirvana, Foo Fighters, all this. But he doesn't realize there was venture capital money behind Nirvana. You go back to America here, Motown. You go back to the Stax Brothers. You go back to the Beatles. The Beatles were organized from a budgetary standpoint as the first boy band, or one of the first boy bands. There was marketing and brand messaging behind there. It didn't reach out as far because the notoriety brought it to a point where they said, okay, we can just have fun. When we humbly realize sometimes when we read the headline, it's not necessarily true, and we dig in a little bit more and we vet the experiences, we gain a better sense of experience in how to create our messaging. The top 3 things here about clarification in your messaging and how you connect, from the talent buyers to the conference people, to the festival promoters, to everyone, is subjective, objective, and diplomatic clarifications. I'm going to repeat that one and really drive it home. Subjective, objective, and diplomatic clarifications. As a musician, as an artist, as a manager, learn how to feel and resonate in the subjective. This is the best band you'll ever hear. You're kind of being disrespectful to what this person grew up with, what their tastes are. It's not, again, it's not about not being confident. It's changing it to be able to allow yourself to say, I love this band and here's why, and I'm hoping you'll experience this too. That's invitational. When you set out, when you make your opinion and you go from an objective fact, or you make your subjective opinion into an objective fact, you close doors. Some of the biggest managers and the big stories of the 60s and 70s, it was arrogant. These guys are the best. Everybody else sucks. Book them, hire them, fund them, boom, boom, boom. We don't have the world that we had then. So now in the invitation to the investor, to the sponsor, to the endorser, here's what this is. This is why I love it. This is how I'm hoping you might love it. I hope you have an experience like this, as opposed to saying they're going to rock your socks off. I love when I still get emails. You've never heard anything like this before. I'm like, great. You just raised the bar so intensely high. You have no idea what I've heard, what I haven't heard. And I get that from your heart, you're just trying to promote and you're trying to be that good manager. But in a sense, you're dishonoring my opinions. You're dishonoring the label, the investor, and everyone else. As we honor and act in love, we resonate greater and have people open up their doors and take down their walls, and they're able to hear that much more. The objective clarification. So now you take the opinions and you make sure that you're stating it as an opinion and that it is your opinion. And here's why you want to share your opinion. And then lastly, you're ready to hear their opinion. Beautiful. You're communicating better than 90% of the entertainment industry. Next, objective. Make sure, if you are not 100% sure it's a fact and you can't back it up in 3 other places, move that objective clarification to an opinion. Now what you've done is you've opened up better doors to not have people fighting back and forth. And at the same time, as a manager, as an artist, when you state something as a fact and people slowly begin to see that everything that you state as a fact is a true authoritative fact, you become an authoritative resource and someone that people can trust faster, as opposed to this is this, or I heard this, or I read this here. Whenever I see something crazy that comes online, whenever I see something crazy from a video, I look it up and I look to a series of different sources. And if I'm not 100% sure, I'll always come back with I feel, I believe, I think. And in turn, I'm communicating and messaging better with the people that I want to connect with the people that I would want to have opportunities with the people that I want to have feeling the highest level of trust to get the greatest level of conversion. Then the diplomatic clarifications. You all know, I mean, especially right now here in America, everybody is angry at everybody. If you don't have this opinion, you're wrong. If you don't feel this way, you're that. There's so many people, they're banging heads together. We have right now, if you've been keeping up, we've got looting, we've got rioting, we have wonderful peaceful protests that are turning into rampages. I live in Orlando, Florida. We're seeing that happen right now. Inside of all of this, the way information is being shared, it's a sensitive time. Diplomacy is sensitivity. Diplomacy is the kind of thing that when you're going on and you want to reach out to somebody, okay, you're looking for an opportunity for a conference, for let's say a big festival, and somebody hasn't gotten back to you. You as the manager, scroll onto their social media, search their name. Are they going through something right now? Are they sick? Are they experiencing something? Because you following up going, where are you? You said you'd be back by this point. Aggressive, aggressive, aggressive. A lot of music managers, there's a stereotype there because a lot of it is true. for you to take that extra time and be able to diplomatically say, let's find out a little bit more. And then you send out, hey, I'm really sorry you're sick. No rush here. Love to hear about it when you get back. You've just shown a level of respect to many people in the industry that feel no respect whatsoever. This also goes to the investors. Why should I fund you? If I was sitting here right now and you have a project and you turn it around on yourself, why should you fund? Oh, I only need this many euro, or I only need this much cash. Oftentimes in America, we make the joke, and I've said it around this country where I speak, it's easier to get $5 million, $2 million to $5 million for a project than it is to get $100,000 or $500,000 for a project. And the reason is, and take this into mind as you look for sponsorships, as you look for endorsements, if you show me a budget, let's say you show me a budget of 2.5 million US, and you state, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. This is where the PR streams are. This is where the social media streams are. This is the products we're going to buy. We're going to do free stuff here. We're going to play here. We're not going to expect to get to capital here. I feel really good about that. I feel like you're respecting me as the investor. Now you say, oh, we just need this amount. Smaller amounts, that can go to crowdfunding, but smaller amounts to me, I chance losing it. The music industry is one of the most volatile loss areas. And I'm not saying that you all have to be in business, but to get your bands into a money mindset. And again, you don't need to download this or learn to be an accountant, but think about it. What are you laying out and what are you creating? And right now, are you looking to raise money to pay bills and go on the road for a minute? Or are you looking to raise the capital to get music out and the team out there in as many ways as possible to make you the money, but also make the people that invest behind you? That's another point that I really feel like you got to think about just in that sense of when you're going out there. How am I providing that? If you're a 4-member band, how am I providing profit and connection to that investor as like the 5th member? The bands and the managers that then bring someone into this and they get away from that arrogant of, I'm going to make you a millionaire. I know so many people. I lived in LA. I went from drumming to producing to then writing business plans and pitching. And the one thing we always came across and where we were able to fund is where we were able to say, I want to get in your shoes. What are you looking for? What are you looking for to get back? And don't dial down the potential success, but so many people, I want a Grammy, I want this award, I want this award, I want to be here, I want all these things. What if you were all making, let's say, 25% above the average medium wage, whether it's in the UK, whether it's in America, after taxes, after distribution, after licensing, after management? You're doing better than the bulk of the world. Sometimes it's not saying that you're setting your sights smaller, but as you message to that concept of stating, I'd like to get this through this first phase so that we're all making money. We're all getting things paid back. We're looking at things realistic. We're looking at the long term here and not just trying to all of a sudden get an award or all of a sudden be on this stage. You become a better investment. It becomes part of the tone and the temperature. And in that, and if you've heard the terms before, and it's something I still work on with labels, but I work on with many other businesses. It's the optics, the tone, the temperature of your presentation, what you're putting out there. Yes, you want to be confident, but you can also showcase the humility. You can showcase how you share things. In investors, let's move from investors, right over to endorsers. I'm moving fast here, and I apologize if I'm going too fast here, but I want to get a lot in as we can. There is a whole bunch of free stuff on my website on lorenweisman.com, and I will send free copies of my second book, The Artist Guide to Success in the Music Business, to you guys, and the audiobook. You can have them for free. I'm not selling anything today here. I'm enjoying being here. I'm enjoying sharing this. So that stuff will be out there. When we look at coming back to the tone and the temperature, when we look at how we're presenting and when we come to the standpoint of how people are seeing things, it opens up more things. So what I was saying about endorsers, I was endorsed by Hilton Hotels for my book tour for the second book. I went to them not saying, I'm going out on the road for 2.5 months. I want your hotel rooms every night. If I don't get your hotel rooms, I'll get somebody else's, and I'll do some book things here, and boom, 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 gimme, 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 gimme. I went out on the beginning of the tour, and I went to 5 Hilton hotels. I marketed what I did. I took pictures like a flat Stanley, like a cartoon image cut out in front of the door. I said, this is what I'm doing, and this is what I'm doing for the next 73 days. I would love to have your support. And in your support, if it's rooms, if it's points, if it's a discount, I'd love to have a conversation. A week later, they called back. We ended up having a great conversation where they gave me enough points so that I could constantly book rooms that also gained you points and stayed out on the road. It's different endorsers that it's not going there going, I want this super drum set. Maybe you start with the drumsticks. I want this great guitar. What are you going to do with a guitar endorsement? And let's say you do want that. Let's say you want a Steinway piano. We'll take a series, B series. Let's say, $95,000. Multiply $95,000 American, double it out. So we're at $190,000 US. How could you provide somebody twofold the revenue opportunities by them giving one of them a piano to you for free? That's your messaging. And that's how people get better endorsements than that more aggressive, I want to use your bass. And if I don't get your bass, I'll use somebody else's bass. Switch it up to, I'd love to use these strings. My drumstick endorsements didn't just come from, I like these sticks. I talked about what I loved about them. I talked about why I liked them. I took pictures of mixing cookies with them, going, I'm baking a cake of groove, and here I'm baking some cookies. We did funny things. We did obscure things. And in that obscurity brings out an originality. And inside of the messaging of your originality, when you're not saying it's original and you're just being humble to you, it opens up that many doors. The next thing, and this is when you become a support system, as a manager, as a band, your support communication and becoming the cheap date to build long-lasting relationships. This is with the venues. This is with the other managers. This is with the tech lines, the booking agents, the promoters. If you go to every festival that's going across the UK that's slowly coming back, maybe cross over to Korea, maybe come over here to America, and you're screaming, I want to play this festival, you're in harmony. Actually, you're not even in harmony. You're in unison with so many other people. You're just out there going, I want to say this, I want to say, I want. If you right now, all bands, all managers right now, for any festival that's coming back, for any gig coming back, this is the band. Here's our stage plot, our input list. You can links to all this stuff on here. Live samples, boom, boom, boom. This is what we do. This is how we do it. Our artist contracts available on site or on your management site. And then the lead of this is for your consideration as a last minute substitution, as a backup, as a support. I would love you to consider this band. Then dig into who they are. I know you might be seeing people getting canceled. I know you're unsure about bringing bands out. I know that this is what the temperature is. Your awareness now, you've become a support system as opposed to a dominating asking system. So you look different from the beggars, and that file gets filed away, and we can definitely work with this person. A lot of my gigs as a drummer before, I'm married now, I have a 4-year-old daughter. Part of me, and I wasn't the best drummer in the world, I wasn't the worst, but I was available. I was the guy that if you needed me, I could get on a plane, on a train, on a bus within 4 hours. I knew where my backline stuff was. And yes, I beat out a lot of people to a lot of different gigs because I was available and I was making life easier for them. So in turn, I got the gig. I've been on stages where I've talked and the guys go, I don't even like your drumming that much. That's okay. I have no problem. That's your opinion. You shouldn't have gotten this gig. I should have gotten this. I have better chops. You probably do. But as we prepare our artistry and let it mold and resonate and harmonize with our professionalism, with our diplomacy, and with our messaging for what we're offering and what we're doing, we get that much more. You can still be an artist, and you can still be an artist that's all far creative. You can still be the manager that's all strategic, but to come together. And another point for you managers, the conversation's not about just what you've done, but having conversations about business, letting the bands be aware of, this is what I'm trying, this is what we have to try to do, because they're just as responsible as you hone and tone the message. They're just as responsible for putting it out. And this also dials into the crisis management of the message. Are you investing or looking for investment in someone that could be a very dangerous investment to you? That guy that's always drunk, that girl that uses drugs, this guy that's got a criminal history. You've got a lot of bad situations, and yes, it's glamorized and glorified in certain, in certain different styles all over the world. But is that something that you want to invest in? And is that something that you can control? And if you can't, is that a safe place for you to be? Because these upper echelon ones that so many people look up to, there's so much money to protect them that when these lower echelon ones, lower echelon artists on their way up begin to screw up like that, it wastes time, it wastes money, it costs too much. So think about, as you're bringing people in, or if you're bringing in backup bands, or as you're putting together a band, if you're a manager, as you're bringing in investment, would you risk that money on that situation? Are you comfortable enough? If you're not, this might not be the group to be involved with. And for the excitement of, well, we saw this person, we saw that person, we saw this guy do this, and he got in lots of trouble. You're taking such a gambling risk and such a gambling chance that could destroy, that ends up destroying the band because the money isn't there, and ends up destroying you. So there's an element in this, and I'm actually see what you say. I'm seeing what you're saying, Stu. I just saw that come up. Availability is key right now. It's not, it really, I understand where you're saying it seems a bit desperate, but in showcasing availability, it's humbling and honoring to state you're ready to work with people at this time. If you're coming out overly confident, too arrogant, oh, we're this, oh, we're booked up for this, oh, we're all this, it doesn't read right. People that are saying that here in America right now, they're being seen as liars, because right now I'm in Florida. We're one of the first states. Tomorrow they open up clubs at 50% for performances. There's some other places, Georgia, New York, New Jersey. They're beginning to do this. Our humility, our diplomacy, and our consideration of what's going on with others is so much stronger than the arrogant tone, and it could be misread, even if it's not our intention. We have too many people in the music industry that come off too strong. It's in their heart, and it's their intention of the love they have for the music and for the artist, but it's turning off the people that can license them, that can book them, that can hire them, that can put them out on the road. When you offer the most widest array of opportunities, you're creating the most widest array of avenues for revenue. When you look at it too, it's not stifling the creativity. Your messaging, it's not about changing who you are, trying to get everybody to understand it. No one ever will. Still, as we're aware, from the subjective to the objective, as we're aware of the talent buyer that's exhausted, the talent buyer that may have been furloughed for the last 3 months, and he hasn't made any money whatsoever, and now he's got to come in, and they're saying, you've got to make this thing work in the next 90 days. The summer has to be amazing, or we're shutting down. That's clubs everywhere. That's venues everywhere. Festivals are being canceled. Music companies, music instrument companies are going under. These are great opportunities for the right, humble, and strategic person to get endorsements. To get endorsements now is going to be, if you're putting together the messaging right, easier than it ever has before. Because the marketing that has to go into keeping certain brands alive, keeping certain products alive, it's more needed right now than ever. For some of these venues, you can make a joke. We talked to a band the other day, and they're going out to rent those hazmat suits. If you've seen this show over there, we had a show in America called Breaking Bad, and it's these two guys, and they dress up in hazmat suits, and they're cooking meth. Really obscure if you haven't heard of it. I know that was kind of a weird angle to take, but they were making the joke that we came up with all together, saying, okay, we can show up in hazmat suits if you want, we can show up in masks if you want, we can be unmasked, we can work with you. It's not just an availability, and it's not a desperation. It's an invitation to make it a little bit lighter, to make it humorous, but at the same time to support. And then in that humility, there's all sorts of opportunity. Coming back to the message here, in all these different ideas and all these different fields, from how you're going to message the fans, to the media, to the tech, to going to the publishers, the licensors, are there certain new products that are coming out or being rebuilt right now where you can license music to them? There's a lot of opportunities there. And in all of that, as you come back to the foundation of your message, as you come back to the clarity, that is the soil, if you will, that everything else builds off of. So coming back, and I know I mentioned this about 20 minutes ago, tagline, one-liner, and inside of the tagline, greatest rock show ever. Kill that. Invite them to a description that allows you to stand out, that becomes something that no one else can see, something that ends up in the signatures. It's on the back of a card. And even in the brand, the messaging comes into the look. If you have a header on your website, get with your graphic person so that header looks the same way on your Twitter as it is on your Facebook, as it is on your YouTube, as it is on your LinkedIn, as it is on whatever other site you have, from SoundCloud to Spreaker, everywhere. Let them feel the trust and the continuity and the clarity of your brand. Part of your messaging is the look. I don't focus as much. I go over that part, and that is a part that we get straight. But a lot of people think, okay, brand design is completely different from brand messaging. They do mesh. If I know your core color scheme or your core background, and I see it everywhere, and I'm an investor, I'm in media, I'm wherever, I end up coming across you and I see these things that are connected, it's great. Here's a problem that we see a lot with bands. Here's a problem that we see a lot with management. Everything's different. You got one background here, you got one descriptor here, you're sending them to a Facebook page here, you're doing this over here. It becomes all discombobulated, and then the trust is gone. And we have this assumption, and this, all of us have had it at some point. They just need to click through. No, we're not that way. You gotta scroll down a little bit more. We can't make those assumptions anymore. We couldn't back in the day. We especially can't right now. That avatar that you choose, put that avatar across everything. As you look to being out there and right now reaching out with that tagline, with that color, with that logo, with that typeset, with that tagline, one-liner, short bio, put it everywhere with continuity. How many of you are on MySpace? I've always loved asking this question because you usually, when you can hear an audience or see an audience, heads turn. No, I erased my MySpace. Open it back up. What says, and they tried to do an injection of financing into MySpace a few years ago, it didn't work, but it's still out there, it's still up. What does it take as either a manager or having it to an intern or having one of the band members make sure your band X banner is up there, band X avatar is up there, band tagline, band link to Facebook, to main website, to iTunes, to wherever else, that all that stuff, or Apple Music, all that stuff is up there. Even in the moments where the band might be going, what am I doing? Or sign up for a different site. This is part of the messaging of continuity. It's not that you need to be on all these sites. Maybe you're only controlling and putting out certain types of media on certain sites, but your continuity, your uniformity creates endurance across the internet. As you get more money, if you are band XYZ and you have bandxyz.com, as you got it, buy the .net. By the .org. Either redirect them or point them to a landing page as you have the time. Do you have band XYZ at Gmail, at Yahoo, at AOL? Secure. This is one of the last points. Secure your messaging so that as people are coming to you, the existing fan, the person that's heard of you in passing but hasn't crossed over, the person who has no idea who you are, the investors, the sponsors, the endorsers, the tech crew, the stage people, the venue owners, the booking agents, all of them. If they get in and you're everywhere, that shows the continuity. I'm not a numbers guy. And I know that certain people are, and I have X number of followers on Twitter, and I need to show this. Followers can be bought, views can be bought, listens can be bought. Your messaging in its clarity, in its consistency, its uniformity, and its endurance allows people to see from all angles where it can go in, how it can be built. The continuity that you have, regardless of the stage, regardless of the funding that you have inside of your messaging, allows other people to see an injection of these funds would amplify this messaging so much faster. If you're not getting back to playing yet, if you're sick, if the clubs or the area where you are, you don't have the opportunities, this is a great opportunity to align and drive your message, build the foundation so that everything is able to build on top of that floor by floor by floor, and it never crashes out from under you. When it comes to videos, don't forget YouTube. Oh, I don't need to do a podcast. You don't have to do a podcast, but having a podcast, having just even that page and that reference and your logo there, and maybe 6 months down the line, you begin to have something you want to share 5-10 minutes a week across the board from the Instagram, doing the things that are the right way. For those, I mean, not getting into too much tech or SEO or compliance, but right now, the Disabilities Act that's in America, as well as moving around the country, if you go into your Instagram and you click edit photo, you'll see in the upper right-hand corner, you probably noticed it more recently in the last year or so, it says edit text. By adding the edit text, by putting the message that explains what that picture is, you're now complying with disability protocol, which means organically certain things are going to get pushed up there. So coming back, I'm gonna circle around so we can do questions here. I just got your message. I know I'm throwing a lot at you, but in sort of a roundabout way, look at the subjective, the objective, and the diplomatic clarifications of what your message is. Get that foundation from the look, the feel, the one-liner, the tagline. See where you can spread that message out in a way that has a humility while at the same time is inviting. As you build in that clarity, as you look to ambassadorship messaging, as you look to the different opportunities and react and interact and communicate as that person and what they've been through and what they're hearing, and understanding that your intention might not be other people's perception, your ability to manage and to amplify opportunities, revenues, and careers will jump up tenfold. How's that?
That's perfect.
That's great, Loren.
Yeah, that was really great. Thank you, Loren. We had loads of comments in the chat as you were talking as well. People were getting involved. There was positive. So you'll see the reasons I'm saying insightful. There was things that people were saying, things that were good were particularly the points that you were making about amending your pitch and amending the message to the different audiences, and and considering that approach. I was just wondering, so guys, if you've got questions, please pop them in. James, how's the Q&A go? Maybe we'll start off with those, or do you want, or I don't know how you
so I think we'll wait for a couple more questions to come in. If you guys want to,
let's go. So maybe going back a bit, Loren, to one of the things that you said. So I was just thinking, starting right at the beginning. So imagine you're at this point where you haven't actually given a consistent message, any kind of thought or practice as yet, and you're just trying to put something together. So you've got a few things in different places. You've kind of got an idea of who you are as an artist or who you're working with. And then you said something about the question, how would you describe yourself? How would you describe yourself to your hero, essentially? Is that the starting point? Is that the starting position? Like, if we're talking right from the start, building that message?
A starting point comes into, and what we do at Fish Stewarding Group is about brand discovery. And you can do a self-brand discovery, where it's all too often people are sitting here and going, okay, I'm going to dip my paint into the paint can and I'm going right up to the canvas and I'm going to write my bio and I'll pull pieces from that. That's where so many things go wrong. When we say, hey, let's paint a palette first. Let's create color. Let's figure out what words we want to say. When you design a logo, search it to see if other people have something. If you have a great line that I feel really good about that tagline, search it online. Look at different places. There are different sites out there. Has somebody registered this as a business? Does your name, oh, well, this is my name. It has to be my name. If you can't get the .com and it's, oh, I've got to get a .this or a .uk or a and then I've got to switch it on a whole bunch of other places, you're not allowing for the uniformity of your brand to come together. You can hire the best writers, and people should stay more internal with the music management writers, with the people that are writing inside, because you hire that English professor and they write something that's beautiful, but it doesn't work on a competitive level, it doesn't work on a comparative level, and it doesn't work on a intention or perception level. When you come up with a phrase, and I usually start this in the brand discovery, I say, give me 10 2 to 4 word phrases about you, then 10 more about your band, 10 more about why you do, what you would never do, who are you influenced by and why? And then who are you influenced by that has nothing to do with music? As you begin to look at different phrases from there, and whether it's with a music editor, with a writer, with a strategist, whoever, you begin to pull things together, it really can get you it can get you honed into something that is authentic, that's yours, and from a compliance and competition standpoint, that doesn't lead to other people. I worked with a band in Los Angeles, and they wanted to use I can't even remember their name now at this point. It's that forgetful, but they wanted to use something where there was a brand out there that was so big. And they're like, well, this is just what we want to be. I'm like, okay, but you're never going to be found. We have to think as strategically as we are creatively so that we can announce and amplify the opportunity. Because if we're only just going to the creative, the chances of success now have lessened exponentially, and it's going to be that much harder. So even for the managers, it's talking to your artists and saying, we've got to come together strategically, because without that strategy mixed with the creativity, it's going to stay local and it's going to stay small.
That's really fascinating. Can I ask you, actually, Loren, throughout your chat, I've got lots of questions for you, but I'm gonna pick and I'm just gonna go with one, to be honest. And I think it's something that you mentioned right towards the beginning of your presentation. You mentioned stopping phrasing yourself as if you are unique. Did you mean that I assume you meant that in regards to directly phrasing yourself as unique or one of a kind or other such synonymous terms? So, I would like you to elaborate a little bit more on that, if you don't mind. It's a humility-oriented thing?
It's humility, but it's also a lot more strategy. For let's say for your given sound, that it is completely unique. It is completely new. It's absolutely different. It's never been done before. Let's just, for this consideration, even with all those things being objectively true, which would be kind of a challenge because music is more subjective, so many investors, sponsors, bookers, they've heard it from people that said that subjectively and in their intention without the respect for other people's perceptions. So by using those words, even if they're true, we're putting them on tired ears, or we're emailing them to tired eyes that are being blasted. And it's not becoming submissive or passive, but it's considering the dominance that is confidence driven, but still rooted in humility and understanding that when you get out there or you're sending that email to that one particular person, and here's a great way to stop and think about it. Imagine that 10 other people just like you sent it. And then in that pause, you can go, let me tell them a little bit about this. Let me talk a little bit about this. Here's what we do here. In this song here of this sample that I'm sending, a glass fell over off the bass amp and you can slightly hear it here. Allow people those little nuances that then are completely you, by not saying original, new, unique, different, never been heard before. And then respecting that in the sense, not in lacking what you have, but that so many other people have. It drives them to want to open up, to put walls down and see you the way that you want to be seen.
I'm with you on that.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move to questions now because there's quite a few people here with questions. And we have a question from Amir. Amir, I'm just going to unmute you so you can ask it yourself. If you go for it now, you should be able to. Hello, Amir?
Hey, can you hear me, guys?
We can hear you, yes.
Hi, guys. Hope you're okay. So I just wanted to ask you, how do you pitch yourself when your message might resonate with loads of people all around the world, but it might not resonate with the people at the top? Like, it might not be like a worthy subject, or it might not resonate with their personal beliefs. Yeah. So how would you advertise your song, your art, with loads of people who would love access to it, but people at the top who could help you do that, they might not necessarily be interested in it?
A lot of people set a plan to try to message only to the top. These are the people that can help me, and this is who I need. Getting into the whole idea of, I need a label. A lot of times you don't. A lot of times, to find the financer, the investor, the capital from somewhere else, you might end up getting a better deal. In creating messaging that will work for everyone, in the guide of whether this is what I'm building up from a local to a regional to this, more people on the top are seeing that. If you're sitting there only aiming for the top and aiming and forgetting all these people that are potential contacts in local and regional areas, it can turn people off from the top. One of the things that we looked at, and that I saw looked at when I was inside the industry in New York and LA, was, what are these bands saying and doing in the moment of where they're at with what they have? That consistency and uniformity attracts more people from the top. So if if your message is not quite hitting for mid-level or low level, work to build that message up so that you look like and come off as, I'm going to work with anybody in any place to move my music, my belief, my imagery, my messaging forward. And in that consistency, you'll find more people that will understand it, as opposed to trying to hone a message in just for the person at the top. You can hone that same message to someone that, okay, this person at the top might have $1 million for you. This person might have $1,000 for you. But in your path and your journey that you steward for yourself, the continuity of that will be recognized at all levels. So I know I kind of went a little ethereal there, but the idea here is build in the messaging. And again, not just circling in your fan base. There are a lot of people, all their messaging is built on is for their existing fan base, or for people that have no idea who they are. So it could be right now, the best thing you could be doing without knowing your messaging is to begin to look at, is this good for investors of any level? Is this good for sponsors, endorsers, PR, licensing, festivals, small gigs? And then once that foundation is there, then you can build off that easier.
Oh my God, thank you so much. That really does answer my question. Like, yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amir. Thanks for your question. And I'm just going to move on really quickly to see if we can try and get through as many as we can. So next we have Emily. Hi, Emily.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can, yes.
Hi, Emily.
Wonderful. Hi, thank you so much. So my question was just some advice on how you can develop this tagline, because what I find really hard is to actually describe myself without shying away from maybe not really describing myself as who I am, or maybe like making myself look too small or too big. And then also what you said, Loren, about like kind of having this humbled confidence and this and trying to like keep this balance. And I was wondering, how can you like reflect on yourself and keep monitoring that you're actually still having this balance between having this humble confidence and not shooting over the top? Because I think that also comes maybe with shyness or being unease when talking to people, and then all of a sudden you make up this huge thing because you don't really know what to say. So I was wondering if you have some advice on that, how to handle it and how to go along with it.
Well, your second question first. One of the things that I did when I was out on the road was always being around people that had nothing to do with music. And so it was making sure that my inner circle and friendships and a lot of relationships were not all music based. That was a part that allowed me to stay humble. I'm a football fan. I'm originally from an area of America called New England. And so I would hang out with New England Patriots fans. When I was living over in your area, it was making fun of my friends that like Man U. There were conversations with people that had nothing to do with music, because psychologically, when we are so engulfed in just the music, we begin to lose ourselves and lose our creative art. And then all of a sudden things get really big. And whether we're shy, whether we're outgoing, we feel like we're bigger than we are. So to be around other people, to have conversations, there was a time I used to practice 8 hours a day as a drummer. And then I went with a teacher that began to teach me about watching people and having experiences, and that it was as much practice physically, musically, mentally, to be able to step out and watch other things, experience other things, go hiking, eat, food, all sorts of things. And in that, it allowed me to stay grounded. There was the ability where I could go out with some of these bands. We would play, 60,000 outdoor arenas. And because I was a backup drummer and whatnot, that night I would go to a bar, or I would go out somewhere to a club or something, and I'd make up a name. I used to tell people I was an intellectual property lawyer. It allowed me to just not be connected, and at the same time, keep the ego in check. And in keeping the ego in check, it kept alcohol and drugs and other things from overwhelming. To your first question, with the tagline, it's looking to other people as you begin to lay out. It's going to the palette. What are descriptors about you musically? What are descriptors about you non-musically? What are things about you that have nothing to do with music that's just, it's you? In asking your friends and asking different people, how would you sum me up in 4 words or 2 words? What's a phrase you would do this? Bringing all this content together, and then the developing of that tagline while saying, okay, let's search it against other people's, let's see what else is out there. Every person has a greater story about who they are that influence their creativity than just the creativity that they see. So those inspirations from other people, maybe you're hanging out with some friends somewhere and they don't even know who you are. How would you describe me? I'm working on a project here. I'm trying to do a quiz. You might find part of your tagline or part of your one-liner, part of your short bio from a friend's friend that just met you, and it's a first impression. And then in those impressions and perceptions from other people that feel so far out there, it's able to dial into you, and then from there share with other people. So kind of long answer to a short question. Build up the content. Build up small pieces. Don't try to go for gold to get the perfect thing. Lay out some things. Drop me an email if you want. After you've laid out some things, I'll look across it. I'll pop you a little email back about some ways to test words and phrases. But when you take that approach to going just a little bit wider, what you're into, what you're not into, what you like, what you don't like. I've talked to certain people like I'm afraid of heights. I actually have something about that inside of my bio and inside of my content, and it's brought me media. What are the quirky parts of who you are as an individual that will help you with your tagline to individualize you while still sharing about the music and allowing perceptions to say, you know what, I haven't heard her, I haven't seen her, but I read this line here and I just want to have I just want to have a listen.
Wow. Thank you so much, Loren. That was amazing.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Emily. Okay, so we did start a couple of minutes late. So, Loren, I want to squeeze in one more question. If you can keep the answer
quick. I gotcha.
Yeah. Thanks for finishing that for me. Sorry, you've been so great, and it's such good content. But yeah. Okay, so we have a question from Benjamin. So, Benjamin's question, I would like to ask, how much of your story should you share, especially if your story comes from a place of having a mental health condition and other kind of personal stories? If that is a running theme in my music, should I let the audience know, and how much of it?
Inside of your messaging and inside of your story, it's as much as you feel comfortable with. In the authenticity of you and everybody else here, it's okay to not reveal everything. I mean, one off, it can leave a kind of cool, mysterious factor. But anything that you're going to put out, and especially when it comes to mental health aspects, are you prepared for that negative crowd to come against it? If not, it might be something to leave behind. If you're at a strength point or strong enough to handle it and put it out there, it really is it's a personal choice of how much of your message, and how much of your story you feel comfortable with, and realizing that whatever you put out for your message and for your story, it will be amplified tenfold. It will be seen through a lot of different eyes, from people that love you, that can relate to you, and those that will hate it and counterattack. So where you are in your foundation, where any of us are, we have to keep that in mind. Honor yourself by protecting the parts of your story that you just know in the back of your mind, or you feel are not to be shared. But also honor the sense of saying, I need to get this out there because it might help somebody else, and I'm prepared to do that. Don't let anybody stifle or stop the message that is the truth and is you.
That's great. Benjamin's having some sound issues, I think, but thanks so much for answering that, Loren. Okay, so we've just got to wrap up really quick here, but you kind of mentioned this before, but it'd be good to say again, if people want to find out more about you and what you're doing, where do they need to go?
You can go to lorenweisman.com. On all social media, feel free, if you want to connect, it's, at LORENWEISMAN. I put out a great deal of videos. I put out tweets. I put out TikToks. I put out different things. There's no sales systems. It's all just stewarding information for people. And again, if you want to connect or you have questions, by all means, reach out. I want to see, I'm doing less in music, but I want to see music move forward organically, authentically, and with better messaging. So some of these videos that you might see, they might not have as much to do with music messaging, but it can still be there. And like for people like Emily, there's things in the tagline. For people like Benjamin, there's elements about what to share, what not to share. I have a blog about how it breaks out for bio breakouts. There's a lot of information. The bottom of my website, that's more US based compliance, but go in there and alter that for what the compliance you need in UK. There are different things from copyright to privacy notices. Feel free to use any of that, connect anywhere that you like, and ask any kind of questions. I'm here, and I got a lot of stuff out there for free.
That's so generous. Seriously, thank you so much on behalf of everyone that's here. We do have a couple of questions that were unanswered, and if you don't mind, Loren, I guess you and I can connect afterwards, and maybe we could send something to some of those people, or put a link in a replay if you have a video that may already address some of that stuff. Would be really cool. I just want to say thank you so much, everybody, for listening. The chat's been really cool. I'm so pleased. It looks like people have really taken away a lot. I know I certainly have. And if you want to continue the conversation, James, do you just want to talk really quickly about the after session again?
Yeah, so I'm going to be here on the chat for about 10 to 15 minutes in case anyone has anything to ask about 30+1, or wants to know how frequently these sessions run, or wants to drop your socials into things, or say hi to other people and find people, because that's part of what this is about. It's about finding and connecting with other people who might be useful for yourselves. And like Loren said, finding out how you can offer uses to other people as well. So yeah, stick around.
Perfect.
And say things.
Yeah, as always, we'll have a question on our Instagram story. So that is the number 30+1. So follow us over there as well after you've finished in the chat here. Loren, I don't know if you have any last words that you want to leave on.
Trust your gut. Number one, 3 quick things. Trust your gut. Trust the artist side of it. Move in love, not fear. Second, vet what you hear. A lot of people are going to share things because they're afraid, because they only know part of the story. Some of them have been in the middle of situations and they share what they know. They were not trying to harm. They're not trying to intentionally harm, but they don't know the whole story, and it could be a harmful story. And third, build a foundation that can continually grow at any level size, whether you become a sustainable artist, whether you become a multi-million-dollar artist, or anywhere in between. Look to create as many avenues of revenue on your journey and your path in music management. And then they can continue to support you in the best way possible and in a way that you would be proud of. And sorry, one last closing thought. Work like it's your family. Work like you would tell someone about this. Would you be proud of the way that you practice your business, that you would tell your son, your daughter, your wife, your husband? If you feel like you have to hide parts of what you do and how you're doing it, you know deep down it's not what you should be doing.
Excellent. Those are perfect words. I'm not actually not going to say anymore. I'm just going to end the session here, and hope to see you guys next week. And thank you, Loren, again so much. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
A lot of fun.
Bye, everyone. Thanks.